Okay, we're ready to start our part 3 of AutoCAD takeoff training. Yesterday we we had a run at doing this unitized window wall. Today we're going to draw and take off the punch window scope for this 1100 Rancho project. We're going to draw this unit, so we're going to take partial of what we have here sketched out in the architecturals, and it's going to be a 10'8" by 12'6" section of a window wall with the three units. Would you agree? I think they're equally spaced. They come in a little bit over like 3'7". So this is what we're going to draw. So flipping over to AutoCAD, you guys are seeing the screen, right? So right now, everything okay. So yesterday we talked about using the window generator. So I'm going to just kind of run right into that. I'll do it, and then we'll switch, and each one of you will kind of give a turn at it. So if I type in Windows, there's the command line, I get the window generator, and then we know we'll fill this out. The rough opening height was 10'8". The width was 10'8". The height was 12'6". Horizontal was 1 going across at 10 foot, and it was 3 base. And what we're going to do different here is, since we know they're going to be spaced equally, the verticals are, I'm just going to click on this guy here. That way space them out, and that way it doesn't have to ask us, what's the dimension of the first vertical, what's the dimension of the second vertical. We're just going to say across that opening, we're going to equally space it, and it'll do it for us. We're going to leave everything the same. This is 2.5. This is not in Visio, it's captured. This is rectangular. We're going to leave the cut joints all the same, and we're going to run through. We're going to have the verticals run through. We're going to keep the tag lines, and we're going to not do the detail bubbles, because we ended up erasing them anyway, for at least for what we need to do, because we're not detailing. We're just doing a takeoff. So I'm going to click OK. It's going to ask me where do I want to put it in the AutoCAD. I'll put it somewhere here. And then the first question is going to ask me is the height of the first horizontal. We only have one, so I'm going to say we decided it was going to be 10 feet. And then it figured out where to space the verticals. So this one's pretty straightforward. And it drew the opening, located the horizontal, spaced out your base, your section of the punch windows pretty much done. We're going to label our unit. We're going to call this one was building 1, right? We'll call it unit size, and we'll keep it window wall. Don't want to create confusion, because this is not necessarily a punch window. They're calling it a punch window, but it's almost a punch window application, because it's going into that precast. And then we decided there was going to be, do you guys remember the number? The total number of these openings? No?
No, I think you said 40, but don't quote me on that.
Quote you on that? Yeah, we had it done here. Let's see, from that previous. 40 is right? Yep, 40. Just remind me to get rid of that. That was her. So we're going to say 40. In the quantity. We don't have the architectural reference. We won't fill that out. So we've got our unit drawn up, and now we're going to, we know I'm going to do again the command LMM. This is to see this will show you the metal, and EST, and then L to look at it. There it actually shows it to you. So we're going to kind of check the metal first, the left jam. We're going to kind of make note of that, because when we look into the takeoff program, if you remember when we looked at it yesterday, there is no label for this one, but we're going to leave this one just the way it is, jam L. Okay, just keep that in mind. And then obviously the right one's going to be jam R. Again, this is all preset, labeled in the part of the takeoff program. And then our verts should be verts. That one's okay. So both of these should be verts. Horizontals, horizontal. And then our head members. The one that we're going to delete because we don't have that in our system anymore is this. It also drops in a head can. And then we're going to get rid of that one. At the bottom, you got the sill, which we do have. And this will be 3 units, so each one of those will have a sill. And then we will have a sill can, which is the other one at the bottom. Pops up. Any questions on that? That's all the metal. We make sure the parts and pieces. And got rid of the one we don't need. We don't need to trim that the sill can in this condition because we should be able to do one out of that 10'8".
How come the ones that you looked at are not highlighted anymore?
Yeah, because it almost, I mean, if I do again LMM and then EST and L, they'll re-show up again.
Oh, okay. I thought you were deleting them.
Yeah.
Okay, cool,
No,
cool,
it's
cool,
good.
cool.
No, it's good to ask.
So you were just you looked at it and then you just click enter and it disappears. That's how.
Yeah. Kind of like when I did delete the top one, the one at top did actually go away.
Okay.
Wait, the top ones aren't equal base.
We did it from a rough opening.
Oh yeah, I did. I bet if you did, let's do a dimension here.
I think it's like 3, 6, and 11/16 or something like
Here's
that.
if it's just going to give you equal.
Oh, equal lights.
Exactly. Yeah, see, so it did that, which is good because it'll be more efficient, right? So it did the lights. Taking account the vertical and the jams and the cut joint. Good question. All right, so let me go. We check the metal and we know it doesn't bring in the glass, so we're gonna put in the glass. So we're gonna type in LMG, put us in prep mode to put in glass. GEST, EST again, EST, and then G for glass. And you're gonna get the dialog box. We use type 1 yesterday, right? So type 1, we left all the glass bites the same as the captured. It's gonna have 1/2" bites all around. We're gonna leave that alone and we're gonna select the center or anywhere inside we're gonna have a light there, and there. We're gonna do the top ones as spandrel, so only those 3. So then we do hit enter, and you get the same, without having to exit out of it, you get the same display, and you type in G again, save a spot, save some click in there, and then you can just say type 2, leave everything the same, click OK, and then we're gonna click the top 3. There's our 6 lights. And if I go back to LM1, it puts me back to, if you want to see everything is lay on to show you everything that's on there, in case you need to make some adjustments. You want to make sure you grab all the tags. So again, LMM shows you the metal. EST, and it should actually EST. And list it. There it shows it to you. Glass and metal. You can see that the metal is actually going through that and the glass is in there. All right, so you got the metal, you got the glass, you got the elevation drawn up. Now we want to label the elevation. So we're going to turn everything on, so make sure you capture everything. And you're going to type in EST. EST. Let me just make sure I turn everything on. So it's EST, and then you say U to update, right? And then you say E, elevation. And then we're going to say 1. Notice that no pop-up dialogues came up. So I'm just going to say 1, and then it's going to ask me to select the area. We're going to select this whole window there. Enter and then enter. And then you're done. Now that we did that, we can get rid of this. Well, let me copy over the text. We're going to use some information that we have here. You could also drop it in from, if your parts command is working, you could also enter the symbols using this. But since we already had them down there, I'm going to copy them. Copy this one up. Remember, in AutoCAD, there's probably more than one way to do what I'm doing. Just a matter of what you get used to. So we got our two labels. That way, visually, when we print this out, we'll know that the bottom lights are type 1, and then the type 2 is spandrel, and then we're going to hatch it. We're going to hatch the spandrel. We got the spandrel tab here. Click it. And we'll click the 3 lights. Enter. Then you're done. Now we're done with, well, no, actually, we got one more step. We're going to show our units. So you click on this X unit icon, and you pick the bottom location of the first. This is just going to kind of stretch out, give you an X for the location of the unit. You want to pick the midpoint, which is already there in the grids or the snaps, and then the midpoint of the next middle point. Between there and then the last one. That way somebody looking at this drawing would know that this is a unitized, you got 3 units. Just another visual to it. If I flip over to paper space, you'll be able to kind of see it clearly there. Looks clean. So before we exit the drawing, I'm going to clean this up. And somebody's going to volunteer to go next. Exit that. So that's it. That's kind of drawing the unit, prepping it, putting the tags, putting the metal, putting the glass, getting it ready, labeling the elevation. It's all ready to exit and then get into access. So I'll stop sharing if somebody wants to take over and run through it themselves. Aja, Ahmed.
Sure, I'll go. Ahmed looks a little busy right now.
Splattered.
Oh.
No mess.
Okay. Windows 10, 8, right?
Yep.
And then 12.6.
12.6.
3 bays, 2.5. We're not doing detailed bubbles. Stick vertical runs all the way through rectangular. Okay, the first height of the horizontal is 10 feet. And then what did you do? Enter distance.
Oh, I see. Yeah. You want to, yeah, we forgot to click on to automatically equally space your verticals.
Oh, okay, go back.
Yeah, you could erase it. Yeah.
So
Yeah, see, that's another thing the program does. It didn't save your last entry. It kind of clears it and starts from the beginning.
yeah. Okay, equally spaced vertical.
That first one.
This one?
Mhm.
Okay. And then tagline stick. Okay. And then 10 feet.
And that's it. Yep. See, yours actually brought in, you see how it brought in the,
Yeah, it brings in my
yeah, that's nice. So it
glass
must be
tags.
something set on my computer because you have them there. So all you have to do is change the label.
Okay. I did lay on.
Mhm.
And then
So then if we want to go in the similar order, there you go. You're going to do check your metal, LMM. And you can kind of see it there, but if you want it, like if you double click.
If I hover over it,
But it's, oh, it kind of does show it to you, right?
yeah, it
Try
says
the
use.
Okay, try the vertical. Just curious. Nice, yeah. Wait, where's the label? Oh, there it is. The use is the
It
verb.
says use vert, yeah. And
Good.
it says
Horizontal,
use
yeah,
horizontal,
the
its
head.
head.
And
And then I
that's
can delete this one.
delete.
And then jam right. Silcan. And self.
And then yourself, yeah. Yeah, see, I learned something today because I didn't realize if you just hovered right over it, it actually shows you to you without having to double click it. So that's good. Because it shows it to you right there. Saves you
Yeah,
a little bit
even
of time.
shows you the floor, elevation MK. That'll probably be when we assign the elevation number. Maybe we'll do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. If you wanted to break it out by floor, which I would take that's what the fab group and all that we're doing. You wanted to break up your glass and your metal by floor. But
Okay.
we're doing this for like partial estimate, so we'd have a couple of them. Okay, so you check your metal. I think you can go back to the beginning, and then you want to do glass next.
LMG.
Yes,
T.
and
G. 1.
Yeah. Yep.
And then G.
Yeah, and then G, and then
2.
Nice. Now you can go back to the beginning again, LM1. Yep. Lay on everything, and then you want to label your elevation.
Label.
So yeah, from here you can type in EST.
Oh, update it.
Yeah, update.
Elevation.
And then you want to give it the type, yep, 1. And then it's going to ask you to select, and you want to select the whole thing. Then hit edit. Did you get you? Yeah, okay, you're out of the whole command. Okay. And you don't have no data down below or nothing, right?
No, I deleted
Delete
the other
it.
ones.
And then all you need to do now is just label your elevation there.
I need to change this one
And you want to put in your spandrel. Hatch it so visually you can see what it is. Not too bad for someone who said it wasn't using AutoCAD, huh?
You know, it's like riding a bike. No, I'm just kidding. It's not like riding a bike at all.
Getting excited, Aja.
Yeah,
Good.
because now I can't find a midpoint.
Okay, but okay. I could show you how to do that one. So click there. And when you come across shift and right click your mouse. Yeah, right click. And I know it's probably old school, but and go midpoint between 2 points, that one. Yep. Click that one, and then it's gonna have you to check the other one. And it's gonna go those two.
Cool.
While still keeping you in there, man.
Nice.
There you go. And you got all those now. Oh yeah, now we just need the label at the bottom. I think we said building 1, unitized window wall. Yeah. 40.
40.
Mhm.
Do the tag like this, because I changed the glass tag after we updated the elevation. Does that matter?
No, because it's really it's like a text.
Oh, it's just for us.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The actual use, the tag, the glass tag, it's already labeled. You could check it if you want to, but it's not associated to it.
So when we do update elevation, we just have to make sure all the metal and glass is right, not the annotations, basically.
Yep.
Okay.
So then you,
Then,
I think that's it. You just save it.
all right.
And we're ready to jump onto the next one. Ahmed's excited and ready to go.
He looks excited.
Well, more excited than yesterday. You know? Yeah. Okay, so there we go. So we're starting with Windows. Yep. You got your width, your height. There you go. Don't want to forget about that one. Just taking the bubbles off. And that should be it. Click somewhere in the screen. Oh, it didn't let you do it? Or did you cancel
No,
out?
I
He-
forgot to.
You're
Okay.
muted. And he didn't do the stick verticals run through.
Oh, okay, okay. Yep, that's it. Okay, yeah, no worries. Go ahead. You can keep going. We'll just adjust the paper space after. So if you want to did the command exit out. That's okay. Let's start. Let's erase that, and we could set our paper. Yeah. So if you click on paper space or layout down at the bottom, there you go, and then click on setup at the top. Let me work on this annotation here. Click on setup up here. And I can't remember what did we say that our scale was here. Let me check mine. The scale I think was 3/8. Seemed like it was a recent. Oh no, sorry, quarter. Click on quarter. That seemed to be okay. Now you can go. Oh, see, it actually takes you back to. You go to model space. Yeah, when you do your, we didn't really talk about this one, but when you do your Windows generator, you want to make sure that you pop it into model space because you put it in the sheet. It's a whole different scale. Here's where you want to do your work. So now we should come in at the right scale because you're already at quarter, right? Yeah. So now here you want to run through that. Yep. You're flying through it. So then it's going to ask you for the first height of the horizontal. Type in, I think it was 10 feet. And it does the rest, right? Yeah, yours even comes in with the labels also. This makes it easier. Check your metal. Do you have that hover option too, or? There it is, okay. So we want to get rid of the the head can at the top. Yes, okay, yeah, you are able to see it by hovering. That one we want to delete. And everything else, we didn't change anything, so we left it at default. So you got your jam left, jam right, the vert, and sills. I think you're good here. You want to do LM1, go back. And then you go LMG. There you go. EST, yeah. G for glass, yep. Remember, right there, you can hit enter and then type in G again. Yep, you got 2. All right. There you go, you're labeling your spandrel. Cool. Yeah, I think probably because you started from the bottom, and now it's going, wants to go from left to right. And so you may have to start the command again, and then start at that bottom point, bottom left, and then just go right. Cool. Nice. I think we got, let's see, did we cover everything on this one?
Did you update already?
Do the elevation. Okay. Is everything on, Ahmed, on the screen? Like if, I can't remember. There you go. If you did lay on first, just to make sure it captures all the tags when you label. Okay. I think from there, just hit enter, exit out of that. Yeah, building 1, unitized window roll. Remember, this is for you, so whatever you want to abbreviate it, it's, you know, if you want to do B1, sometimes, you know, you could do even just B1. Because we might run some scenarios on the other buildings. So. There you go, that works too. Okay. Is that the final step? I think it is, right? Then just hit save before we. Or if you do control S is a good one. Automatically saves it. If you like the shorthand commands. You good? I think we got everything right. Okay. Let's.
Do I save it on that folder too, Frank? Or just desktop? Fine.
Wherever you want to save it, just remember you're going to want to pull the data when you practice, even if you put it in that folder, in the same project folder. Just somewhere where you're going to want to, when you go to pull retrieve. Remember, when we get into the access part, you're going to want to tell. You probably want to put it in the folder, in the project folder. It'll make it easier for you later. So we did the drawing. We have it all done in AutoCAD. You guys ran through it. I'm going to exit this. And now we're going to go into Access.
You gotta share your screen.
That's true. But I know what I'm doing. Let me see. All right. You guys can see CAD? Yep. Okay. So we're going to close this out. And we're going to go to Access. Access, we're going to take off this one here. Remember, it's going to open the last project we had, which is going to be that window wall, yesterday's window wall. So we want to create a new one. So it opened up the project. So as you're doing a couple different ones in the same project, something to keep in mind is you want to label them similar but slightly different, so you know the difference. Because I'm looking at this one, and it's going to have a similar name because there's also unitized W75 window wall. I might just call it something punch window. So I'm gonna create a new one. So every time you're going to start one from scratch, you're going to create a new. You want to put it in the same folder as the project in the takeoff. So we're working on 1100 Rancho here. Pre-contract, takeoff. Here we got a couple. I'm going to use this abbreviation and I'm just going to call it punch window at the end. Hit save. I saw something disappear. Yeah, that data. All right, so once it saves it, it clears memory, it clears it, and you want to enter the project info because now you're starting with a blank database. As soon as this gets done, we're going to enter the project info. Go to project info. Call it the same. Rancho unitized window wall, and then we'll call it punch window. And then we go to the directory, which again, it's going back to what you're asking about where to put the file. You want to put it in the project so that you know where to get the data from. Okay, Rancho, pre-contract, takeoff. Okay. So we got the project set up. We got the project info. Now we're going to grab the data because again, we don't have anything here. Elevation info. There's nothing here yet in there. So we're going to start with the glass. We'll say get the glass. So under actions, you're going to click on here, get glass. And then you're going to go to the project. This one was labeled 301. I don't know if you guys saw that. Because that was a file that has the unitized window wall, the punch window version. So I'm going to click on that one. Remember, yesterday we were running into a couple tag errors that were popping up. I think it's something that was happening when AutoCAD was running in the background. We might get a couple errors, yeah, like these ones here. Something to key. We're just clicking OK because it brings in a glass. It didn't finalize something in AutoCAD, which we're gonna look into. So it's telling you it's adding the query to the elevation, added one row. When it's all done, you can go and click on elevation info, and there it is. It just has that one entry. We haven't told it how many times it occurs, but that's elevation. So then we're going to pull the metal. We're going to get the glass. We got the glass. We're going to get the metal. Same file. Open. And this is the message you get when it's all done. Yes, and data to the row. Now you can go to elevation info and you can start filling this out. So by clicking on the plus sign, here's where you tell it how many quantities, how many elevations that you had. If I remember correctly, we had 40 of them, right? 40 similar window conditions. The index here, we just one there, location was 1. We don't want to mess with the unit key, right? Click on this. And the frame is not here yet, but we're going to get into that, right? Because we haven't imported that. Actually, in this case, since we already, all of us have it in our system, all we have to do is just import it. So let's do that. We're going to go to edit the frame. Because right now you don't see any quantities because it doesn't know what framing system to use. So yesterday we decided that for this job we were going to use the unitized window wall from Vans, right? So I have it in here. This one. No. This guy here. So the Vans headquarters 2 unitized window wall. That had all the latest and greatest, so I'm gonna call it same W75 unitized window wall. Port. So it brings all the data that we had. And this had all the similar conditions, had a head, horizontal. It didn't have an invisible or an invisible horizontal, but it did have, and these are the conditions that we're gonna have to update. It does have a jam, but it's not labeled, it's labeled differently. It does have a sill and a sill cap. So we're gonna assign that. So we're gonna go back to elevation info and assign it that framing system. There, keep that. And enter 1 for all these. And exit. And now you should be able to get a quick count on your lights. And this is where we start like back checking ourselves. So if we have 40, I mean, it's a quick count there, and it'd be 40. And we had 6 in each of them, right? 6 lights in each. So yeah, 240 puts us right there. So the lights are good. So going back into the framing system, we're going to make the adjustments to match what we have in CAD. And we did have a head, so we're not going to make any adjustments there. We do have a horizontal. We don't have an invert or an invisible horizontal. We don't need to make any adjustments here. When you have a condition that you want to use, we want to use the parts and pieces of this jam piece, but we want to label it just like it's labeled in the drawing, or it's not going to know what it's pulling. So we know that we got a jam L. So I'm creating one here. Remember, this is different than yesterday. So this is what is labeled on the CAD drawing. This is what it's called, jam L. And see, there's actually data here. So at one point, this project had a jam left and a jam right. So all we have to do is compare it to this one here. So I think what we're gonna do, because I know this jam is more up to date, I'm gonna bring the parts and pieces from that one. Okay, so to do that, you want to click on this top one here, copy, and we're gonna go to the jam left. We're gonna paste. We can get rid of this guy here. See, we got part number. We're going to look at these since there's not that many. The jam vertical is W75 4113. W75 4113 has got the gaskets. This is before the update we did with the W75 templates where we're still counting linear foot of gaskets. I'm going to leave that there, but just so you know, now it's automated because it's a part of it's in the estimate. It kind of calculates it based on your linear feet of glass. So we have it there. And this one here. So we're going to take that one out, abandon it, just so that we're apples to apples. And realistically, since we don't want to account for that, now we have our gem left. Any questions on that? That's what we're going to count for mainly. This is the main extrusion that occurs at the left. Yeah, right. We want to make sure it's captured every time. Let me go ahead and open the CAD. We have time.
Why did you delete the gaskets?
I'll show you right now. So, well, I guess we didn't get into that part yesterday, but when I built the estimate, other than all we did was bring in the extrusion and we brought glass. Previously, we used to account for the gasket linear footage, and then you put it into the material tab. But now with the new W75 templates, there's a spot there already that automates it for you based on the total linear foot of glass. It's a number that's already, so you don't need to do this counting of gaskets. You're automatically putting, because that's, if you count it here, you take that data and you take it into your estimate under the material tab and you account for it. But in the new template, the new W75 template, it's automated so that when you put in your glass sizes, it actually automatically calculates your linear foot of gasket in the template, so you don't have to do it outside of that.
Is that for all of it? For jams, intermediates,
Yeah.
head, seal? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna get rid of that in the other one too. We're all glass. There we go. So right now we're looking at this flash jam, right? I'll hover over it, see if it works for me.
You're not in model space.
Okay. I wonder it's not working. Yeah, so we're looking at this left jam right here. Right? Oh, it sure is lagging right now. This jam L. So that vertical piece in access is this guy here. Right? And we're going to leave that strut. And this is just a tag. So I'm actually going to add that dot to it so that it separates it, puts it at the top. Okay, so now we're going to copy this guy. We're going to call this guy jam right? Because we do have one on the left and one on the right. We're going to get rid of this data. It's going to be identical to the one on the left. Would you agree? Except we need to change that to right. You got the same part. So we're going to clean this guy up. We're going to get rid of this one because it's not there no more, just so that it keeps our framing system clean. We're going to get rid of the invert. We didn't do this yesterday, but since we're getting into it a little bit more today, we'll clean this up. Only leave the ones that we actually have. So we have the head, and we're going to clean this up since we know we don't want to over process. Get rid of the gasket so that when you export your metal, it's not there, right? It's kind of what you're asking, Haja, like, because it is accounting for every member that has gaskets. You're putting it in there. So, and it's going to export it. So now we're just saying, well, we don't need it because it's going to get calculated based on the glass. All right, jam left, jam right. I think I got most of it. All right, so now that's done. Okay. Go back to elevation info. I've got the right framing. We only have one, so that's okay. And we have the glass and we have the metal. The metal frame is ready. Now we're ready to optimize. All right, we're going to optimize before we start exporting anything. You can export the glass right now if you wanted to, but the metal before you export it, you want to optimize it. So we're going to optimize before we do. So again, to go optimize, you're going to export the metal order, right? Right here. Sorry. This is the command where you to export glass and metal. To optimize it before you export, you got to go here. So you go ahead, optimize extrusions. You're going to get this dialog box. Remember, it's going to be in inches. We're going to leave all this alone. The only thing we're going to click is to automatically generate the sizes. And then we're going to click OK and let it go through the process. It takes a little bit. Taking all the parts in here. And then it gets that same message. There's a tag there somewhere that wasn't identified. I'll have to check that. Click yes here. It's doing the updates to the location. It's adding 30 rows. And then you can see it kind of working here at the bottom where it says optimizing, telling you all the part numbers that it's the lengths that it's coming up with. But down at the bottom, you can kind of see it. How do you think this one is compared to the one we did yesterday? Good? Yeah. Yeah, remember, the more parts and pieces that your framing system has or your takeoff, the longer it's going to take. This one is not too bad, so it should be popping up here pretty soon. It's got 3 units. Should go quick. Not a whole lot of parts. I mean, it's got a head. You don't have no other additional items. Here's where you would, well, after you hit, optimize, here's where you walk over, go and get your coffee, come back, and by the time you came back, Hopefully that.
I feel like it went faster yesterday.
I feel like it did. And you know, we took away data. We took away Gasket, so which is weird, right? Maybe it's the server, but I could say maybe because we had more framing systems here. Here we had 40, yesterday we had 10. Potentially, but I don't know. So it gives you the summary of the parts and pieces counter. You could do it, well, you can't do a quick check here. You can just click OK. Click OK on here. All right, here's your summary, your optimization. So just looking at your quantities, again, you got that label up there, you got doing a couple of checks. If we have heads, we had 40 conditions and how many? 3 times 40. Yeah, so we have 120, same for the horizontal. On the jams, we had 40. So it's one for one, right? For every opening, you're gonna have a left, and for every opening, you're gonna have a right. So those match up. And the seal is gonna be the same as the head, 120. Seal can, so it's the same as for every opening, because it was 10'8". And then your verts, you had, so you had 2, right? You know, it's double, so it's double the opening. So 2 for every opening, so it's 80. So I think just that check by itself is good. So we're gonna say okay. So now we've optimized it. Now we're gonna go ahead and export it. So we're gonna start with the glass, export the glass. Remember, it's gonna kind of by default tell you if you're already in the project folder, is gonna put it in the materials, and it's fine, I'll leave it there. There you can see the metal from yesterday for that other system. So what's nice about it is gonna label it with today's date. So we're gonna leave all that the same. We're gonna click save it. And then we're gonna export the metal. So after this is done, we're actually going to create a blank template. So we didn't get into that yet today, but we'll show you how to do that. I'm going to say close, right? Export. So for metal, there was a couple options. You want to go also the metal order, not merge, but export the third one down, metal order form to Excel. We're going to leave the default folder. Let's save. And just remember, for this one, we're working on the one that looks like a punch window. Still window wall, but it's more like a punch window condition when we start building the estimate. So yesterday we worked on it. I already had a template that was there that I created, that we started grabbing the data and started putting it in, right? So right now, since we have about 30 minutes, I'm gonna go through, now that we have exported, now we want to drop it into prepping an estimate. So that's what, as soon as this is done. So this is done. So we finished with AutoCAD, we finished with Access. Now we're gonna put this other data that we gathered and put it into an estimate. So I'm gonna exit this. Any questions before I go into that? Aja?
Were we supposed to follow along?
Which on this?
Yeah.
You want to try it?
No. I'm just saying, since we're gonna start doing the sheet, right?
Uh-huh. Oh, no. That part is not gonna be as elaborate as this part. But what I'm gonna walk you through right now is like the stuff that you were looking at for the data that you got from the pre-con model, where they gave us the spreadsheets already. So I'm gonna show you how to, if we had to create a spreadsheet from scratch, which is a template, and you had to put in your glass and put in your metal. Because what we were doing before is we were actually already getting the sheet, and all we were doing was back checking it. So here is the other way around. You're actually creating the data, you're gathering all the data, and then you yourself are putting it into an estimate sheet. So what we didn't cover yesterday was how to quickly do, pull open a blank estimate, save it, and then drop in your data. We didn't cover that, so I'm gonna cover that just kind of briefly. So now I can open up Access. And you can follow along on this one, just kind of watch how it gets done, but we won't have to practice it because so when we go to Excel, we'll create a new, and we go to customs. Remember, we're recording, so I think this will be good if you wanted to go back. And then it's still labeled as cell, so we go here. And we've got all our templates, RFQs, and all that stuff that we're going to get into. But the one we're looking for is the W75. This guy here. That's our latest and greatest template. We'll click on that guy. And as soon as you open it, you want to save it because you're going to stay here. You want to put it somewhere. So I'm going to say File, Save As. Browse to my folder. The 1100 Rancho. And then this is not going to go in takeoff anymore. We were working only in takeoff. Now we're going to go into estimates, budgets, and then you're going to switch here, not to the workbook where you're going to go 97, 2003, and you're going to see the other one here. That's the other one that we did yesterday. So I'm going to click on that one just to use the naming, and I'm going to change that to number 2, and I'm going to call it punch window at the end, similar to what we've been doing. Right? Still W75 parts, but it's kind of more like a punch window. And it's going in the same folder. This is the one where all the data from yesterday is. I'm going to hit save. We're not going to get into filling any of the estimate info. That's going to be a different session. So you continue, because we're not building an estimate yet. We're just prepping. Show you where all the data goes that we put together. Really, it's going to go in the glass tab, and it's going to go in the extrusion tab. That's what we just did in Access and in AutoCAD. So I'm going to do a side-by-side here. Kind of did a little bit of this yesterday, right? So we'll start with the glass. We're going to go to here in Explorer, find our data. Take off. Remember, it puts it in that materials release to PM. That's the default folder. And then we're looking for glass. And there's 2 here, the one from yesterday, and then there's this one here. So again, if you have a bunch of them, you'll be looking at the one that's specific to your system you're working on and the date. So I'm gonna open this guy up. And we had 2 glass types, right? Division, type 1, and then type 2, the spandrel. So being that there's not that many, you can kind of manually enter them. I'm gonna start with type 1. We're gonna put the type up on top here in the types. The cost code will be 474. The glass, I know it's 1 inch insulated, so it's 7. I mean, it kind of, if you wanted to see what we have a couple list of different weights by the type of glass. So 1 inch insulated glass is 7 pounds. I'm just going to call this one 1 inch. 1 inch insulated vision glass with low E coating. We are early on in conceptual, so we don't have glass types yet. So that's I'm very, very generic right now. I'm not gonna plug in the glass price yet. Just giving it, and then I'm gonna do a placeholder for the, I know I have a spandrel, so I'm gonna say a type 2, 747, 1 inch, insulated, let's say spandrel. That's the only thing we're doing right now, is just differentiate between the two. Because they're gonna have different glass values, different prices. All right, so now I'm gonna enter the data into the sizes. So for type 1, and I'm gonna use a mark number that was generated, type 1-1. We have 1, and then here's a light quantity. We have 120 lights. And then the width, you round up, right? So this will be 40. It says 39. And then the height is 115. So we're gonna say 116. We're rounding up. So that's all our lights for vision. For spandrel, we're gonna match up type 2 because this is gonna correlate. It's gonna assign that value for these sizes to spandrel. Same for vision. This will be 2-1, 1 for the opening, and then 120 for the lights. Again, 40, similar width, and it's the height that's different, rounding up to 28. And that should be all our glass here. Height just to give us a quick preview. That's our glass. Any questions on this part? Pretty straightforward, right? That's all our glass, just based on the opening that we're working on. So I'm gonna close this, and I'm gonna go to the metal. Again, it's our punch window with today's date. As soon as that opens, I'm gonna switch over to the extrusion tab. Remember, a lot of this stuff that gets done when we get it from the pre-con model, it's automatically populated. The model is actually putting that data into the spreadsheets. Here, we're kind of doing it a little different. We're actually building it manually. I want to say that. Okay, so I'm going to extrusions, and here's where all your metal is going to go. So we're only worried about bringing in the data. So we're not going to bring in any of these parts because those are just kind of labels, essentially. We're not going to bring in the caulking or any of the other. We're only worried about the extrusions. So we're going to cut and paste these guys here. Copy, and then you're going to use the paste function here. The values only. You're going to go to the lengths. Same. On their quantities, you want to use the actual. Right here. Again, because it's gonna, round it up or give you the extras under the quantity once it knows what kind of part number it is. It's gonna do that here. Right now it hasn't done it, but it will once it. Sorry, let me redo that. I went too far. I want to catch only from here. I was grabbing the caulking, so we need to go match up item by item. Oh, right there. There we go. So those are the quantities. Once you have the metal, you can see all these NAs. That means it doesn't know what part number that is. And it's still going to say that to do that, you want to update the die parts. So click on this one. And remember, this will take a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and close. We've grabbed all our metal from here, so I'm going to go ahead and close this. I'm going to expand this window, and I'm going to hit update dies. It's going to start running through the list of dies, and if it finds it, it's going to assign it the section properties for it. And if it doesn't, it's going to leave it there as NA, like it didn't find it. But looking at most of these, it should be able to find most of those, with the exception of, I think we had 2 of those parts that it didn't find yesterday. They were. I went to look at that, and it turned out it was like the pressure bar that goes in the vertical, and then the cover part. So we'll be able to sign those once you actually build the estimate. Again, we're not looking at building. This is just prepping the estimate. You're putting in the glass. You're putting in the metal, because the whole building the estimate would be a whole different training session, because that'll be like starting from the job info to how do you get it's just a lot more to cover. Right now, we're just doing the takeoff portion. Any questions on this? You guys want to see where we ended up while this goes? I'm gonna show you something so that you can see, get a preview of after we did the estimate yesterday. We did the same thing, right? We did it for, I'm gonna pull up that estimate just to give you a preview. And how we ended up at that unit cost that I shared with you this morning. So I took it after we entered all the data, I kind of built the estimate. So we prepped it together and then I built the estimate, finalized it, came up with there's a lot of data that went in there, material, pallets, shop labor, field labor, caulking, all that, glass pricing. Well, that other one finishes, I'll show you this one. Yeah, so on the bottom line, we ended up at $117 a square foot. We were kind of targeting, if I remember, see if I had it here. Yeah, I have it here. We were targeting about 115 to 125, right? And we ended up somewhere about 117, so not too bad for. This is after we drew the units, tagged it, put glass in there, grabbed all the data in Access, and then populated it into an estimate, which was this one here. We built this one. We did the same scenario here. I plugged in some glass prices. I used some similar glass pricing from similar insulated units based on all the sizes we had. Same for the metal. I used the latest and greatest metal pricing from the wiki. I tagged in some parts that were missing. I added some money for dies. And then I went through the whole estimate, tab by tab, the opening, material, shop labor, all that. And then we ended up at $117 a square. So we're going to be able to use this data and go back to the customer and say, okay, this system at the ground level is going to run you somewhere about this much. We might add a little bit of buffer depending on other logistics. We might say, okay, anywhere between, we might end up at 120 because this job, if it's that far out, there could be potential escalations, other stuff that we're not seeing. Maybe there's shadow boxes, maybe there's something. And we'll be able to describe everything that is in our estimate. This is based on clear glass, 1 inch insulated, not 3/8, spandrel, not shadow boxes, all that information that to be able to explain our unit costs. So we're gonna be able to do that here. And we want the one estimate that we're working on now is this guy. How much are these windows gonna be? And I think when we're talking yesterday, we're thinking that this will be probably in the 130 range. But we'll see once we finish. So let me flip back to that. I think all the data is done. Yes, all the data is done, and we still have a couple. I'm gonna label them here. I think it's a similar parts from yesterday that are NA. They didn't find it in the database because it has an X. They didn't find it, so I do have that data in the other one. So I can actually take this estimate now, run through it, do the same thing that I did on the one from yesterday, and see where we come in. So we can kind of turn around and say, okay, this budget is done. We can go back to the customer. The customer, just so you guys know, if I can't remember, I shared that with you. They wanted they gave us all the unit. They said this much for this much that. How much is it a square foot? And we could have done risk, about 115 to 125. Gave them that range, but really not knowing too much. We could have spelled out a couple things, but I think it's going to be better now that we built the estimate to be able to be more specific. This is based on this, and this. You got 6'3" units, a 4-footer, you got spandrel glass, and that way that when the architect, Gensler likes to be more specific on certain things, it must, okay, no, I don't want clear glass. I want low iron glass. And so, okay, that's going to drive the number up. Oh, no, I don't want spandrel, I want shadow boxes. Okay, that's going to drive the number up. So this number is based on that. But see, we could easily now go to our estimate and do those updates and say, this is how much more. And this is, and that's the kind of interaction that the contractor and the architect would want on a project like this. So yeah, that's it. I mean, we built it, we prepped the estimate. Now I'm gonna finalize this one, come up with a number. Any questions on the CAD portion, on the access? Those two parts of it? Yeah, I would recommend, I know you guys did it here. We didn't get to do the access part, but give it a run, give it a try. And if you get stuck on anything, let me know, and then we'll just walk through it. It'd be good for you to walk through creating your framing system, importing it, because you do have the framing system from yesterday. Want to use the same one, and go through the adjustments that we did where we took off all the gaskets and all that, and export, optimize, export the glass, export the metal, and then compare it to the one that's actually in the folder. See, because they should be almost, I mean, they should be identical because we're working with the same file. So, sound good? Yeah. Any questions? Feel good about it?
Maybe once we start doing it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, just give it on. The only way to do it is to kind of just, or figure it out is to do it. So, give it a run. So. All right.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks, Brain.
All right. Thank you, guys. We'll see you. Bye.